You ready for a very radical statement?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and came before you. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Everything is in context. All in which you live and came before you. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
All in which you live.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
All in which you live what came before you. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Coconut tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Everything is in context. Fell out of a coconut tree? Coconut tree? You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Coconut tree? Fell out of a coconut tree? Everything is in context. All in which you live came before you. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
All in which you live came before you. Came before you. What came before you? What came before you?
Imagine what can be unburdened by what has been.
What came before you? What came before you? What came before you?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has 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 been.
Unburdened by what has been, believing in what can be. What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What can be
unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has 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 been.
What can be, what should be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. See what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Unburdened by what has been and knowing what can be. Have a sense of vision about what can be unburdened by what has been. To see what can be
unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been.
What was possible, unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
That can be
Unburdened by what has been.
There are those who are unable to see what can be, but there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
Hello, I don't know why every time I'm launching stream, chat looks weird. I don't know why that is, but hello everybody, hi! Hardest working streamer in the biz, okay? Did a 9.5 hour stream last night, fell asleep, woke up, saw that Netanyahu was addressing Congress today. Wow, things keep happening along a linear time scale. It's very overwhelming. I just look weird today? No, you don't. You look charming and handsome, okay? Look. Everyone's cute. Rise and grind, baby. We gotta get in those content mines, folks. Hello, German Cow JJ. Hello, Tired and Trans. I feel that name. Hello. Hey, it's Lemon Drop. Hello, Cam Girl. How you doing? Hello, John Bainbridge. Hello, Gwenifer. Hello, Darth Gently. Hello, Azrael was taken. Hello, Amber Brains. Hello, Lil Broer. Hello, Malachi. Hello, Mandakorian. Hello, Mr. Miyagi. Hello, Lady Rain Cloud. My favorite Rain Cloud. Hello, VCCTV. Spoiler, it's bad. Yeah, we're like probably about 10 minutes behind, but I got a bowl of Indian food. I've got an energy drink, and I have the willpower to go on. So, what more can you do? All right, I haven't even done my hair. Whoo! Yeah, I am sleepy as hell, but you know what? I'm unburdened by what has been, all right? We gotta get out there. Also, this will be a shorter stream. I do have to skedaddle in about an hour and a half. But until then, for like a health appointment, and then I'll be back later for the costume stream with my partner. And I think we're gonna play a dating sim game. I think that will be fun. You're so motivating. Hey, I also cleaned a little bit this morning, so you know what? I'm thriving. The sun hits my skin, and now let's cover a war criminal, huh? Let's cover like a guy who came to the country, and the second he stepped off the plane, he should have been arrested for killing tens of thousands of children. So. Let's go. What kind of dog would you get if you were to get one? Like a golden doodle or some kind of like golden retriever. I like them a lot. There's a tornado warning here. Please prioritize your safety. Let's go. As you guys know, we covered yesterday, Bernie Sanders is not present. A lot of Congress has remained apart from this, frankly, ghoulish event. Like, Benjamin Netanyahu is overseeing, like, the torture of who are reporting that they've seen children who've been shot multiple times by snipers. And again, not like Palestinian doctors, which should be good enough testimony on its own, by the way. But apparently some people think that there are just, you know, evil doctors in the Gaza Strip who are making things up. No, but like reputable doctors who work with Doctors Without Borders, for example, who go into these war zones and see with their own eyes, and then come back to the United States to testify. Not to mention the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu is attempting to expand the war into Lebanon. Looking, you know, he ordered strikes on Yemen. It's pretty nasty. Pretty nasty guy.
The chair appoints as members of the committee on the part of the House to escort His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of the State of Israel, into the chamber. The gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise. The gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. The gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Palmer. The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore. Gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McClain. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. McCall. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries. The gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark.
I need to put this in the microwave for like another minute. I'll be right back.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar. The gentleman from California, Mr. Liu. The gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz. The gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman. Gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Schneider. And the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Gottheimer.
The acting president pro temp of the Senate, at the direction of that body, appoints the following senators as members of the committee on the part of the Senate to escort His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, into the House chamber.
I gotta say, like, it's kind of disgusting how American politicians kowtow to, like, royalty, man. Like, our entire premise as a nation is antithetical to monarchy and like, titles and, like, honorifics. I don't know. It's just weird. All right. My food should be ready.
The senator from West Virginia, Mr. Manchin. The senator from Arizona, Ms. Sinema. The senator from Pennsylvania, Mr. Fetterman. The senator from Kentucky, Mr. McConnell. The senator from South Dakota, Mr. Thune. The senator from Wyoming, Mr. Barrasso. The senator from West Virginia, Mrs. Capito. The senator from Iowa, Ms. Ernst. The senator from Montana, Mr. Daines. The senator from Iowa, Mr. Grassley. The senator from Idaho, Mr. Risch.
All members of the escort committee will exit the chamber through the lobby doors.
Guess all that AIPAC money really buys a lot of influence, huh? Can get you right into Congress. Apparently you can't say anything about it because of what Hitler did. I mean, look, I think it's fair game to criticize Benjamin Netanyahu because no individual is above criticism. But especially I think you can do it to Netanyahu because dude literally does Holocaust denial. Like, he talks about how actually Hitler didn't even want to do the Holocaust, but the evil Muslims made him do it. Which is insane. Play elevator music? You know what? Good point. Hey, Mithril Mist. Good morning. Good morning, Dragonfly. Man, this is really taking a lot longer than I thought it would.
Members of Congress, I have the high... No? Oh.
Mr. Speaker, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
It's not time for him yet? Okay. You know what? I think it's watching this unfold right now. It's even better that Kamala Harris is not here for this. I'd be absolutely disgusted. What are our snacks? I have a veggie samosa and chicken Josh. Yeah, I mean, you can see on the right side of the room, there's like a huge gap in the chamber, and that's where like all the progressives bowed out. Honestly, one of these like, if you wanted to be there and still protest, these people all have money. Get a tailored suit in the colors of the Palestinian flag, you know, like with the design based on the Palestinian flag. That'd be a real like lemon in the eye situation for Netanyahu. without a watermelon pattern, you could incorporate it. Like the lining could be like watermelon. Look at all of our taxpayer dollars at work, folks. Instead of doing anything constructive, they're just waiting on a genocidal asshole who tried to make himself a dictator like a year ago. A lot of people forget Benjamin Netanyahu tried to make his power as prime minister supersede that of their Supreme Court equivalent. He tried to make himself a dictator. The only thing that saved him from going to jail is the attack by Hamas. That's it. How's he different from Vladimir Putin? Vladimir Putin is already a dictator. Have we seen this? Rashida Tlaib. Joining me in the chamber today is Hani. Joining me in the chamber today is Hani Al-Madhoun, who has lost over 150 members of his extended family in Netanyahu's genocide. After witnessing his sister forced to eat animal feed, he and his family were determined to start a soup kitchen to feed their starving neighbors. Rashida Tlaib, fights the good fight in Congress. I like her a lot. Okay. Seriously, how far out are we? I thought we were really close. There he goes. Disgusting. Man, fuck the Democrats. This is a nice reminder. The Democrats are also evil. They're just the pathway we progressives can use to power. Fuck these ghouls. Every single one of them. and subvert democracy and killed tens
Members
of
of
thousands
Congress,
of children.
I
Yay!
now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. Thank you.
What a disgusting spectacle.
Thank you. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Senator Ben Cardin, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators, members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time. We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
You know, I guess it's a lot easier to murder children en masse when you call them barbarians rather than people dignified by a civilization. The dehumanization has already started. We're like 2 seconds into the speech.
It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together.
I do find it interesting how a lot of this mirrors a lot of the rhetoric that was used around, like, colonial endeavors. Which I know people have pointed that out before, that, like, Israel is a settler colonial project, but, like, this is how European leaders talked about the scramble for Africa. You know, they talked about it in terms of, like, you know, settling the wilderness. You know, bringing civilization to the savages. You know, lifting them up with the enlightenment of civilization, science, and technology. Ignore the fact that we're, like, brutalizing the people and have, like, killed 90% of the population, and also, like, chop off people's hands in, like, concentration camps. Ignore that part. We're bringing them civilization. We're the enlightened ones. It's the same rhetoric, being met with the same applause. People literally thought colonial projects were charities. Like, that's the level we're working on here. I'm convinced, because I've seen a lot of rhetoric from folks of the Zionist persuasion. They think they are improving the lives of Palestinians, you know, by doing an ethnic cleansing and such.
Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing: we will win. Ladies and gentlemen, like December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001, October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy. It was the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. It began as a perfect day, not a cloud in the sky. Thousands of young Israelis were celebrating at an outdoor music festival. And suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., as children were still sleeping soundly in their beds in the towns and kibbutzim next to Gaza, suddenly heaven turned into hell. 3,000.
Now, I will say, yeah, the Hamas attack on civilians was terrible. Absolutely terrible, heinous, as any attack on civilians is.
1,000 Hamas terrorists stormed into Israel. They butchered 1,200 people from 41 countries, including 39 Americans. Proportionately, compared to our population size, that's like 20 9/11s in one day. And these monsters, they raped women, they beheaded men, they burnt babies alive, they killed parents in front of their children, and children in front of their parents. They dragged 250.
Also, keep in mind, the Israeli state has not done a full investigation of January 6th yet. Netanyahu keeps pushing it off. Just throwing that out there. So we don't actually know the full story yet.
5 people, both living and dead, into the dark dungeons of Gaza. Israel has already brought home 135 of these hostages.
Sorry, did I say January 6th? I meant October 7th. My bad.
Including 7 who were freed in daring rescue operations.
Cut me some slack. I'm very sleepy.
One of those freed hostages, Noor Gamani, is here in the gallery, sitting near my wife, Sarah. On the morning of October 7th, the entire world saw Noah's look of desperation.
You know, the story of how inhumanely the hostages were treated might ring a little bit more sincere if Israel's prisons weren't, holding Palestinians without charge indefinitely, and weren't torture camps. We have reports from almost every mainstream news organization in the United States about the rampant use of torture, including sexual torture, on Palestinian prisoners.
As she was violently abducted to Gaza on the back of a motorcycle. I met Noah's mother, Leora, a few months ago. She was dying of cancer. She said to me,
"Oh, that's really interesting. You met with that hostage family." Benjamin Netanyahu's been busy dodging a lot of hostage families right now. You know, the ones who want the ceasefire immediately so that they can try and save their loved ones. It's nice that he had time to meet that one hostage family, I guess. I wonder if he set the police on her dying mother, too. Which is what he did to the hostage families that protested him.
Prime Minister, I have one final wish. I wish to hug my daughter Noah one last time before I die. 2 months ago,
Yeah, we covered Itamar Ben-Gvir's post praising the Israeli prison system for torturing Palestinians. Like, they're proud of the torture. It's not a bug. It's not corruption in the system. It's not rogue actors. It's the intent of their prison system as regards Palestinians.
I authorized a breathtaking commando rescue operation. Our special forces, including a heroic officer named Arnon Zmora, who fell in this battle, rescued Noah and 3 other hostages. Noah, I think it's one of the most moving things. When Noah was reunited with her mother, Leora, and her mother's last wish came true. Noah, we're so thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you.
Just as an FYI, remember how, remember he kind of glossed over that raid that freed Noah as a daring raid? There were almost 1,000 casualties in that raid. 274 Palestinians died. 700 were wounded. And most of the casualties were suffered by civilians. I can't say all, but most of them certainly by civilians. And the majority of those civilians, children. Now, also worth noting is that in this raid where the IDF shot and wounded almost 1,000 people, the Gaza Health Ministry and Hamas claimed that 3 hostages were killed, including a U.S. citizen. So, again, this raid killed almost half of the people it was trying to save. And he's regaling Congress with this story to applause. Not to mention the 270 other people who were killed or the 700 who were wounded.
Thank you. Many hostage families are also
OS Crane, unfortunately, you'll have to be more specific because there are too many incidents like that.
here with us today, including Eliyahu Bibas. Eliyahu Bibas is the grandfather of those 2 beautiful red-headed boys, the Bibas boys, toddlers. And they were taken hostage with their mother and and Eliyahu's son. The entire family was taken hostage. 2 beautiful red-haired children taken hostage. What monsters. And with us also is Iris Chaim, whose son, Yotam, bravely escaped Hamas captivity with 2 other Israelis, and tragically they were killed making their way back to our lines.
That's a really vague way of describing their death. Were they tragically killed By the IDF? Is he talking about the 2 hostages who were trying to surrender to the IDF? Waving a white flag only to be shot by the IDF?
We have with us also
I
the
wonder.
families of American hostages. They're here. The pain these families have endured is beyond words. I met with them again yesterday, and I promised them this: I will not rest until all their loved ones are home. All of them.
Or dead!
As we speak, we're actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now.
Yeah, just as an FYI, again, like, all of his negotiations are poisoned by the fact that he's not accepting any terms other than, like, unilateral, like, destruction of Hamas and, like, no ceasefire at all. So, like, I don't know, like, what are you actually negotiating here? Like, what's actually being negotiated? Like, you're not offering terms of, like, surrender to them that they would ever accept.
I want to thank President Biden for his tireless efforts on behalf of the hostages and for his efforts to the hostage families as well. I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. He rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten. President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says, a proud Irish-American Zionist.
I'm really glad that Kamala Harris appears to be breaking hard with Joe Biden on this issue.
My friends, for more than 9 months, Israel's soldiers have shown boundless courage. With us today, is Lieutenant Avichai Reuven.
Has she met with Netanyahu yet? I believe it happened before this.
Avichai is an officer in the Israeli paratroopers. His family immigrated to Israel from Ethiopia. In the early hours of October 7th, Avichai heard the news of Hamas's bloody rampage. He put on his uniform, grabbed his rifle, but he didn't have a car. So he ran 8 miles to the front lines of Gaza to defend his people. You heard that right. He ran
Just as an FYI here, here's an article from January 19th of last year. Will Netanyahu be the prime minister who legalized racism in Israel? Netanyahu's agreements with his far-right allies means the rise of a new Israel of state-sanctioned racism unbound by political decency. As a Jew, I'm disoriented. As an Ethiopian, a woman and mother, I am outraged. As a citizen, I'm afraid. Yeah, this guy really supports Ethiopian Jews.
8 miles, came to the front lines, killed many terrorists, and saved many, many lives. Avichai, we all honor your remarkable heroism. Another Israeli is with us here today, and he's stand up right next to Avichai. This is Master Sergeant Ashraf al-Bakhiri.
Yeah, just as an FYI, this is from 2019. Ethiopian Jews, Israeli Premier Netanyahu, racist. Ethiopian Jewish community decries Benjamin Netanyahu's government for not allowing settlement in Israel.
Ashraf is a Bedouin soldier from the Israeli Muslim community of Raat. On October 7th, Ashraf too killed many terrorists. First, he defended his comrades in the military base, and he then rushed to defend the neighboring communities, including the devastated community of Kibbutz Be'eri. Like Ashraf, the Muslim soldiers of the IDF.
Okay, I am time limited, so we are going to speed this up a little bit.
Fought alongside their Jewish, Druze, Christian, and other comrades in arms with tremendous bravery.
They really don't want to be there?
A third hero,
I mean, they look uncomfortable,
Lieutenant
yeah.
Asa Sofer, is also here with us. Asa fought as an officer in the Tank Corps, and he was wounded in battle. He was wounded in battle while protecting his fellow soldiers from a grenade. He lost his right arm and the vision in his left eye. He's recovering, and incredibly, within a short time, Asa will soon return to active duty as a commander of a tank company. I just learned there's a fourth hero here, Lieutenant Jonathan Ben Chamo, who lost a leg in Gaza and continued to fight. My friends, these are the soldiers of Israel, unbowed, undaunted, unafraid.
Sped up clapping does lend it the correct air of farce, I think. Good.
As the Bible says, Am kelavi yakum. They shall rise like lions. They have risen like lions. The lions of Judah, the lions of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the IDF come from every corner of Israeli society, every ethnicity, every color, every creed, left and right, religious and secular. All are imbued with the indomitable spirit of the Maccabees, the legendary Jewish warriors of antiquity. With us today is Yechiel Leiter, the father of one of those Maccabees. Yechiel's father escaped the Holocaust and found refuge in America. As a young man, Yechiel moved to Israel and raised a family of 8 children. He named his eldest son, Moshe, after his late father. Moshe became an exemplary officer in one of our elite commando units. He served with distinction for 2 decades while raising 6 beautiful children of his own. On October 7th, Moshe volunteered to return to combat. 4 weeks later, he was killed when a booby-trapped mine exploded in a tunnel shaft right next to a mosque. At his son's funeral, Yechiel said this: "If the state of Israel had not been established after the Holocaust, the image engraved in our collective memory would have been the photograph of that helpless Jewish boy in the Warsaw Ghetto holding his hands up in the air with Nazi rifles pointed at him. But because of the birth of Israel," Yechiel continued, "because of the courage of soldiers like my son Moshe, the Jewish people are no longer helpless in the face of our enemies." Yechiel, please rise so we can honor your son's sacrifice. And I pledge to you and to all the bereaved families of Israel, some of whom are in this hall today, the sacrifice of your loved ones will not be in vain. It will not be in vain because for Israel, never again must never be an empty promise. It must always remain a sacred vow. And after October,
Yeah, but you got you get the state of Israel gets a pass if they do it to someone else. Never again. But only for us. Only for our state.
October 7th, never again is now. My friends, defeating our brutal enemies requires both courage and clarity. Clarity begins by knowing the difference between good and evil. Yet incredibly, many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists.
Or you know, they're just criticizing the Israeli state. You know, again, it's really convenient when you're just like, oh yeah, our enemies are savages, not worthy of civilization, and also anyone who criticizes us supports rapists. You know, wild how those aren't actually arguments. You're just slandering your critics. That's it. Guess what? I'm about to do something that apparently Benjamin Netanyahu thinks is impossible. October 7th was bad. The slaughter of civilians is always bad. And on that basis alone, doing like 10 times the slaughter of civilians, 15 times the slaughter of civilians, is 15 times worse. Whoa, I know, mind-blowing stuff. But apparently saying that in Benjamin Netanyahu's eyes means that I'm standing with rapists and murderers for thinking that slaughtering children en masse is bad. And that the people who do it and the people who order it are evil beyond measure.
And murderers, they stand with people who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the 2 babies, in the attic, in a secret attic. They murder the families, the parents. They find the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
There are very few days where Congress has been as disgusting as today.
They refuse to make the simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas. We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag, protected the American
Oh my god, are you seriously going down on the frat bros who held up the American flag because, like, people put up the Palestinian flag? Are you kidding me? Jesus. Didn't know this guy could fit that many dicks in his mouth at one time.
flag against these anti-Israel protesters. For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this
Feel like
building.
I'm in the
Not that
cuck
many,
chair?
but they're
Yeah.
there, and throughout the city.
We kind of are.
Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
Yes, he believes that Iran is funding and or supporting and spreading anti-Israel critique. Only possible way you can criticize Israel is apparently if Iran gives you money.
Some of these protesters, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing, some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
Hey, Benjamin Netanyahu, can gays get married in Israel yet? Just quick question on that one. Can gay people get married in Israel? Just wondering here. Can gay people get married in Israel? No, they can't, actually. If you want to get gay married and you live in Israel, you have to travel abroad to get married. And only then will the state recognize your marriage. If you want to get civil union marriaged in Israel, oops, you can't do that domestically. Oops. But also, just throwing this out there, maybe if you gave the Palestinian statehood and allowed, I don't know, international trade, freedom of movement, you know, etc., they would liberalize and accept LGBTQ people more. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe keeping them in a what has been described as the world's largest concentration camp has a radicalizing effect for the most fundamentalist religious portions of their society in a way that precludes the acceptance of gay marriage. I'm just spitballing here. That might be part of the case. Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu cares so much about queer people that he refuses to let them get married in Israel.
These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about. They not only get an F in geography, they get an F in history. They call Israel a colonialist state. Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David...
Yeah. And then a whole lot of other stuff happened over the course of like hundreds, if not thousands of years. I'm sorry. arguments like this. I don't know. Should the Native Americans rise up and push all people with European ancestry out of the United States? I don't know. Some people might say yes, but I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing. I don't think an ethnic cleansing is a good thing ever. Actually, I don't think that. I don't think that an ethnic cleansing today solves the problems of the past. I don't think that because your great continuing on grandfather was in a certain location, you automatically have the right to build a house in that location. I don't think that that's actually how it works. My grandparents lived, my great-grandparents lived a bit further north in Minnesota. Should I be able to go to where they lived and just build a house there and shoot anyone who says anything about it? I don't think so. I don't think that would be respected by police in the United States. I'm just throwing out there that that's just for my great-grandparents. I think the claim gets a bit weaker when you have more greats on there, actually.
David and Solomon ruled.
Hey, you know what? My ancestors used to rule part of England called the Danelaw. Do I get to go to England and claim the old borders of the Danelaw as my own? I claim for myself the sovereignty over the ancient Danelaw. According to the traditions of my ancestors, I will duel the King of England. Unfortunately, no. The world does not work that way. Unless you have a bunch of guns and kill a lot of people.
For nearly 4,000 years, the land of Israel has been the homeland of the Jewish people. It's always been our home. It will always be our home. It's not only the campus protesters who get it wrong. It's also the people who run those campuses. 80 years after the Holocaust, the presidents of Harvard, Penn, and I'm ashamed to say my alma mater, MIT, couldn't bring themselves to condemn the calls for the genocide of Jews. You remember what they said? They said, it depends on the context. Well, let me give these befuddled academics a little context. Anti-Semitism is the world's oldest hatred. For centuries, the massacre of Jews was always preceded by wild accusations. We were accused of everything from poisoning wells, to spreading plagues, to using the blood of slaughtered children to bake Passover matzos. These preposterous anti-Semitic lies led to persecution, mass murder, and ultimately to history's worst genocide, the Holocaust. Now, just as malicious lies were leveled for centuries at the Jewish people, malicious lies are now being leveled at the Jewish state. No, don't applaud. Listen.
Yeah, you know what? I think this guy needs to hear a little something about falling out of a coconut tree and the context of all in which he lives and what came before.
The outrageous slanders that paint Israel as racist and genocidal are meant to delegitimize Israel, to demonize the Jewish state, and to demonize Jews everywhere. And no wonder.
Wow, it's so cool how he conflates Jewish people and the Israeli state. What an incredibly racist concept, conflating your ethnicity and religion with your state. Just as an FYI, there are a lot of Jewish people who don't live in Israel, man. Like, stop this conflation. It's dangerous. And I would even go so far as to say it's evil. It's an ethno-nationalism, and for whatever reason, people are just, yo, it's okay. It's okay if Israel's ethno-nationalist. Why? Why, motherfucker? Tell me why. All right? Like, Can we pull this up? Just real quick. I need to find an article. Specifically an article from like the 1930s. It's an article from the 1930s. I think it's written by the Jewish American one of the Jewish American organizations, basically warning from the 1930s, mind you, about the dangers of conflating Judaism with a state. The dangers of Zionist ideology. They knew even while Israel was in the process of being founded that this was a dangerous line of rhetoric to go down, that it would be a line of rhetoric that could lead to an ethno-state.
No wonder we've witnessed an appalling rise of anti-Semitism in America and around the world. My friends, whenever and wherever we see the scourge of anti-Semitism, we must unequivocally condemn it and resolutely fight it, without exception. And don't be fooled when the blood libels against the Jewish state come from people who wear fancy silk robes and speak in lofty tones about law and justice. Here's a case in point. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza. This is utter, complete nonsense. It's a complete fabrication. Israel has enabled more than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food. And that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. If there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, it's because Hamas is stealing it. So much for that lie, but here's another. The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. What in God's green earth is he talking about? The IDF has dropped millions of flyers, sent millions of text messages, made hundreds of thousands of phone calls to get Palestinian civilians out of harm's way. But at the same time, Hamas does everything in its power to put Palestinian civilians in harm's way. They fire rockets from schools, from hospitals, from mosques. They even shoot their own people when they try to leave the war zone. A senior Hamas official, Fatih Hamad, boasted, listen to this, he boasted that Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields. His words, excel at being human shields. What monstrous evil. For Israel,
there's only one more monstrous evil, and that's shooting the human shields.
Every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. They actually want Palestinian civilians to die so that Israel will be smeared in the international media and be pressured to end the war before it's won. This would enable Hamas to survive another day, and as they vowed, to carry out October 7th again and again and again. Well, I want to assure you, no matter what pressure is brought to bear, I will never allow that to happen. The vast majority of Americans have not fallen for this Hamas propaganda. They continue to support Israel. And I want to say thank you, America, and thank you, senators and House members who continue to support us, continue to support Israel, continue to support the truth, and see through the lies. But as for the minority that may have fallen for Hamas's cons job, I suggest you listen to Colonel John Spencer. John Spencer is head of urban warfare studies at West Point. He studied every major urban conflict. I was going to say in modern history. He corrected me, no, in history. Israel, he said, has implemented more precautions to prevent civilian harm than any military in history and beyond what international law requires. That's why, despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare. And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah. In Rafah. Remember what so many people said? If Israel goes into Rafah, there'll be thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of civilians killed. Well, last week, I went into Rafah. I visited our troops as they finished fighting Hamas's remaining terrorist battalions. I asked the commander there, how many terrorists did you take out in Rafah? He gave me an exact number, 1,203. I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none, with the exception of a single incident where shrapnel from a bomb hit a Hamas weapons depot and unintentionally killed 24 people. The answer is practically none. You want to know why? Because Israel got the civilians out of harm's way, something people said we could never do, but we did it. These here
Just as an FYI, I'm going to read to you guys an article published in the New York Times in 1919. Okay? This article is titled Protest to Wilson Against Zionist State. Representative Jews ask him to present it to the peace conference. Published March 4th. Acting on behalf of a committee of 31 prominent men, Congressman Kahn of California in Washington today presented to President Wilson a petition on behalf of the Zionist Organization for the consideration of the peace conference. President Wilson acknowledged the petition in a few words and agreed to have the matter put before the conference after his arrival in Paris. The text of the petition is as follows. As a future form of government for Palestine will undoubtedly be considered by the approaching peace conference, we, the undersigned citizens of the United States, unite in this statement, setting forth our objections to the organization of a Jewish state in Palestine as proposed by the Zionist societies in this country and Europe, and to the segregation of Jews as a nationalistic unit in any country. We feel that in doing so, we are voicing the opinion of the majority of American Jews born in this country and of those foreign-born who have lived here long enough to thoroughly assimilate American political and social connections. The American Zionists represent, according to the most recent statistics available, only a small portion of the Jews living in this country, about 150,000 out of 3 million. At the outset, we wish to indicate our entire sympathy with the efforts of Zionists which aim to secure for Jews at present living in the lands of oppression a refuge in Palestine or elsewhere where they may freely develop their capabilities and carry on their activities as free citizens. But we raise our voices in warning and protest against the demand of the Zionists for the reorganization of the Jews as a national unit to whom, now or in the future, territorial sovereignty in Palestine shall be committed. This demand not only misinterprets the trend of the history of the Jews, who ceased to be a nation 2,000 years ago, but involves the limitation and possible annulment of the larger claims of Jews for full citizenship and human rights in all lands in which those rights are not yet secure. For the very reason that the new era upon which the world is entering aims to establish government everywhere on principles of true democracy, we reject the Zionistic project as a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Zionism arose as a result of the intolerable conditions under which Jews have been forced to live in Russia and Romania. But it is evident that for the Jewish population of those countries, variously estimated at 6 million to 10 million, Palestine can become no homeland. Even with the improvement of neglected conditions of this country, its limited area can offer no solution. The Jewish question in Russia and Romania can be settled only within those countries by the grant of full rights of citizenship to Jews. We are all the more opposed to the Zionists because they themselves distinctly repudiate the solely ameliorative program. They demand and hail with delight the Balfour Declaration to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, i.e., a home not merely for Jews living in countries in which they are oppressed, but for Jews universally. No Jew, wherever he may live, can consider himself free Sorry, lost my spot. Free from... this then jumps to a new section of the article. Against such a political segregation of the Jews in Palestine or elsewhere, we object. 1, because the Jews are dedicated heart and soul to the welfare of the countries in which they dwell under free conditions. All Jews repudiate every suspicion of a double allegiance, but to our minds it is necessarily implied in and cannot by any logic be eliminated from the establishment of a sovereign state for the Jews in Palestine. By the large part taken by them in the Great War, the Jews have once and for all shattered the base aspersions of the anti-Semites, which charged them with being aliens in every land, incapable of true patriotism, and prompted only by sinister and self-seeking motives. Moreover, it is safe to assume that the overwhelming bulk of the Jews in America, England, France, Italy, Holland, Switzerland, and the other lands of freedom have no thought whatsoever of surrendering their citizenship in these lands in order to resort to a Jewish homeland in Palestine. As a rule, those who favor such a restoration advocate it not for themselves but for others. Those who act thus and yet insist on their patriotic attachment to the countries of which they are citizens are self-deceived by their profession of Zionism. So, yeah. Again, a lot of this is warning about the like conflation of Jewish people and a national state, i.e., a warning against creating an ethno-state. That's what they're doing throughout this declaration. And there's a section of this letter titled, Contrary to Democratic Ideals. Whether the Jews be regarded as a race or as a religion, it is contrary to democratic principles for which the World War was waged to found the nation on either or both of these bases. America, England, France, Italy, Switzerland, and all of the most advanced nations of the world are composed of representatives of many races and religions. Their glory lies in the freedom of conscience and worship, in the liberty of thought and custom which binds the followers of many faiths and varied civilizations in the common bonds of political union. A Jewish state involves fundamental limitations as to race and religion, else the term Jewish means nothing. To unite church and state in any form as under the old Jewish hierarchy would be a leap backward of 2,000 years. And I think, guys, this is an accurate summation of the issue at hand. Written in 1919 by the majority Jewish organizations of the United States. Worth keeping in mind as Netanyahu talks.
Heroes here today, the heroic soldiers of Israel, should not be condemned for how they're conducting the war in Gaza. They should be commended for it. I want to thank all of you here.
Also, just as an FYI, right after they finish that last sentence that I read you, here's the next one. The rights of other creeds and races will be respected under Jewish dominance is the assurance of Zionism, but the keynotes of democracy are neither condescension nor tolerance, but justice and equality. And I feel like this is this is being articulated in front of us from a voice from 1919. Telling us what the key, friction is here.
Here today, who forcefully opposed the false accusations of the ICC and stood up for the truth. These lies are not only libelous, they're downright dangerous. The ICC is trying to shackle Israel's hands and prevent us from defending ourselves. And if Israel's hands are tied, America is next. And I'll tell you what else is next. The ability of all democracies to fight terrorism will be imperiled. That's what's on the line. So let me assure you, the hands of the Jewish state will never be shackled. Israel will always defend itself. My friends, in the Middle East, Iran is virtually behind all the terrorism, all the turmoil, all the chaos, all the killing. And that should come as no surprise. When he founded the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini pledged, "We will export our revolution to the entire world." We will export the Islamic revolution to the entire world. Now ask yourself, which country ultimately stands in the way of Iran's maniacal plans to impose radical Islam on the world? And the answer is clear. It's America, the guardian of Western civilization and the world's greatest power. That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month, we heard a revealing comment, ostensibly about the war in Gaza, but about something else. It came from the foreign minister of Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and he said this: "This is not a war with Israel. Israel," he said, "is merely a tool. The main war, the real war, is with America." Iran's regime has been fighting America from the moment it came to power. In 1979...
Yeah, it's almost like Iran wants to position itself in opposition to, like, the imperial hegemon that's been fucking shit up in the Middle East for, like, the last century.
It stormed the American embassy. It held scores of Americans hostage for 444 days. Since then, Iran's terrorist proxies have targeted America in the Middle East and beyond. In Beirut, they killed 241 U.S. servicemen. In Africa, they bombed American embassies. In Iraq, they supplied explosives to maim and kill thousands of American soldiers. In America, they actually sent death squads. They sent death squads here to murder a former Secretary of State and a former National Security Advisor. And as we recently learned, they even brazenly threatened to assassinate President Trump. But Iran understands that to truly challenge America, it must first conquer the Middle East. And for this, it uses its many proxies, including the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. Yet in the heart of the Middle East, standing in Iran's way, is one proud pro-American democracy, my country, the State of Israel.
Hey, remember how last summer he tried to overthrow democracy and make himself a dictator? 'Cause I do.
That's why...
I mean, guys, just wait until you learn about why Iran is the way it is right now. Just wait. Guy, you know what? Who could possibly guess why Iran just hates America for no reason? You know, we just fell out of the coconut tree. Why would Iran have some kind of beef with the United States? I can't understand. You know, I just I don't know. Did something happen in 1953? I'm just you know, yeah, you know what? I think in 1953 something Hamas must have happened in Iran. Yeah. Yeah, why do they hate us? You know what? I have no idea, but maybe if someone were to read a web page called CIA Activities in Iran, there might be some small indications of what happened. Just you know, might have something to do with some little CIA adventures. Anyway,
that's why the mobs in Tehran chant death to Israel before they chant death to America. For Iran, Israel is first, America is next.
Yeah, who put the fundamentalists in power in Iran, I wonder? I say. Who could have possibly done this? Look, all I'm saying, guys, We're all just looking for the guy who did this, okay? We're all just looking for the guy who did this.
So when Israel fights Hamas, we're fighting Iran. When we fight Hezbollah, we're fighting Iran. When we fight the Houthis, we're fighting Iran. And when we fight Iran, we're fighting the most radical and murderous enemy of the United States of America. And one more thing. When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons that could destroy Israel and threaten every American city, every city that you come from.
Yeah, you know what really would have helped prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons? Some kind of elaborate diplomatic deal that, swore them under international scrutiny to not develop nuclear weapons. I'm just spitballing here. That might have helped a lot.
We're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you. My friends, if you remember one thing from the speech, remember this. Our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight. And our victory will be your victory.
Man, I love when a foreign leader comes to tell me that their war crimes are our war crimes. Yeah, it's really heartening as an American citizen. Keep in mind that their victory is predicated on a mass ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. Yeah, it's literally predicated on ongoing and continuing war crimes until a complete eradication is achieved. He sounds like a dictator. The guy who tried to overthrow democracy a year ago? No way.
Israel's defeat of Hamas will be a powerful blow to Iran's axis of terror. Another part of that axis, Hezbollah, attacked Israel on October 8th, a day after the Hamas attack. It has launched thousands of missiles and drones against us.
Yeah, tell us how you're going to expand the war.
Northern Israel evacuated their homes, becoming effectively refugees in their own land. We are committed to returning them home. We prefer to achieve this diplomatically. But let me be clear. Israel will do whatever it must do to restore security to our northern border and return our people safely to their homes.
And to prevent me from going to prison. If millions must die to prevent Netanyahu from going to prison, so be it.
Last Friday, a third Iranian proxy, the Houthis, attacked Tel Aviv with a deadly drone. It exploded a few hundred feet from the American consulate, killing one person and injuring 9. On Saturday, I authorized a swift response to that attack. All our enemies should know this. Those who attack Israel will pay a very heavy price. And as we defend ourselves, on all fronts, I know that America has our back. And I thank you for it. All sides of the aisle. Thank you. My friends, for decades, America has provided Israel with generous military assistance. And a grateful Israel has provided America with critical intelligence that saved many lives. We've jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth. I choose my words carefully. We've jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth that help protect both our countries. And we also help keep American boots, Americans' boots off the ground while protecting our shared interests in the Middle East. I deeply appreciate America's support, including in this current war. But this is an exceptional moment. Fast-tracking U.S. military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader war in the Middle East. In World War II, as Britain fought on the front lines of civilization, Winston Churchill appealed to Americans with these famous words: "Give us the tools and we'll finish the job." Today, as Israel fights on the front line of civilization, I too appeal to America.
The front line of civilization. Yeah, so you need to kill the savages, right? You need to kill them to save them. First, last, you're making an awful lot of assumptions about things that I've never advocated for. That's crazy. It's almost like when people hear criticism of Israel, they just can't handle and engage with the actual points being made. It's wild.
America. Give us the tools faster, and we'll finish the job faster.
If you demonstrate yourself capable of actually interacting with any of the ideas I've put forward here, you're more than welcome to talk. But criticize Israel then? Okay, they're an apartheid state. They're an apartheid state engaged in an ethnic cleansing campaign of the Gaza Strip. And I think that's pretty apparent. And I think that's bad. I think Benjamin Netanyahu has attempted to seize dictatorial power for himself by trying to make the prime minister's powers supersede those of the Supreme Court equivalent in Israel. He did so last summer to record-breaking protests across all of Israel. And I think that listening to a wannabe dictator in Congress is disgusting. Wow, that's exactly what Hamas is saying. Well, Hamas is also disgusting and kills children and civilians, and I condemn them for that. If Hamas drinks water, am I not to drink water? That's crazy. So engage with my points. Here. First, last, I have a limited amount of time. You have to hurry it up, otherwise I'm going to ban
really
you.
That strong? Okay.
Got to hurry up, otherwise I'm going to ban you because I have a limited amount of time with which to engage you, and I want to finish this. So let's start with the first point. Israel's an apartheid state. Your counter argument. Let's see what you were saying on October 8th. Yeah, I condemned the Hamas attacks. Super easy. But engage with my first point. Israel's an apartheid state. This is according to Israeli organizations within Israel that also call Israel an apartheid state. My source for that is B'Tselem, the leading human rights organization of Israel. They have an entire report on it. Counter-argument. I will give you approximately 1 minute to give any kind of counter-argument. Halfway done. Tick, tock, motherfucker. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Got 10 seconds left. 10, 9. I'll give you extra long seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh man, what a compelling counter-argument that consists of exactly nothing. Wow, incredible. Who could have foreseen this? Amazing stuff. Wow. A true intellectual titan steps into the arena to engage with exactly zero of my ideas. Wow. I love this incredible back and forth we've had. Thank you for wasting everybody's time. There we go. Zionists are brain dead. They can't make arguments because what they argue for is an ethno-state. A creation that is inherently anti-democratic, that stands against everything that we value in a democracy. It's disgusting when any group of people creates something like that and enforces something like that.
My dear friends, the war in Gaza could end tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and returns all the hostages. But if they don't, Israel will fight until we destroy Hamas's military capabilities, end its rule in Gaza, and bring all our hostages home. That's what total victory means, and we will settle for nothing less. The day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza can emerge. My vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalized Gaza. Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent.
We don't look. We're not going to build settlements in Gaza, guys. We're just going to militarily occupy the entire thing for an indefinite time period. Yeah. Anyway, hey, Benjamin Netanyahu, don't leading members of your current political coalition currently attend Zionist land grab conferences that are talking openly about seizing land in Gaza, salivating at the opportunity? It's crazy. It's crazy how he just comes here and lies, man.
The resurgence of terror to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy.
Guys, literally 2 days ago, they ordered the evacuation of 400,000 people from a zone that they had labeled a safe zone so that they could resume bombing it. Again, they're just shuffling these people from location to location, killing them in the safe zones. There is nowhere for them to go.
Israel. That's not too much to ask. It's a fundamental thing that we have a right to demand and to receive. A new generation of Palestinians must no longer be taught to hate Jews, but rather to live in peace with us. Those twin words, demilitarization and de-radicalization, those two concepts were applied to Germany and Japan after World War II, and that led to decades of peace, prosperity, and security. Following our victory, with the help of regional partners, the demilitarization and de-radicalization of Gaza can also lead to a future of security, prosperity, and peace. That's my vision for Gaza. Now, here's my vision for the broader Middle East. It's also shaped in part by what we saw in the aftermath of World War II. After that war, America forged a security alliance in Europe to counter the growing Soviet threat. Likewise, America and Israel today can forge a security alliance in the Middle East to counter the growing Iranian threat. All countries that are at peace with Israel and all those countries who will make peace with Israel should be invited to join this alliance. We saw a glimpse of that potential alliance on April 14th. Led by the United States, more than half a dozen nations worked alongside Israel to help neutralize hundreds of missiles and drones launched by Iran against us. Thank you, President Biden, for bringing that coalition together. The new alliance I envision would be a natural extension of the groundbreaking Abraham Accords. Those accords saw peace forged between Israel and 4 Arab countries, and they were supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. I have a name for this new alliance. I think we should call it the Abraham Alliance. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in brokering the historic Abraham Accords. Like Americans, Israelis were relieved that President Trump emerged safe and sound from that dastardly attack on him, dastardly attack on American democracy. There is no room for political violence in democracies. I also want to thank President Trump for all the things he did for Israel, from recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, to confronting Iran's aggression, to recognizing Jerusalem as our capital and moving the American embassy there.
Anyway, also, just as a reminder, here is an internal memo that leaked. According to the Times of Israel, Intelligence Ministry concept paper proposes transferring Gazans to Egypt's Sinai. Which, if you need it spelled out to you, that is an explicit internal plan for ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip. Anyway.
That's Jerusalem, our eternal capital, never to be divided again. My dear friends, Democrats and Republicans, despite these times of upheaval, I'm hopeful about the future. I'm hopeful about Israel because my people, the Jewish people, emerged from the depths of hell, from dispossession and genocide. And against all odds, we restored
Or, hey, here's Israeli agricultural minister Avi Dichter in November of last year. Nakba 2023. That's so interesting. That's so interesting, y'all. Agricultural Minister Avi Dichter told Israeli Channel 12 over the weekend that the war would be Gaza's Nakba, referencing the 1948 expulsion of 700,000 Palestinians, a mass ethnic cleansing event.
Our sovereignty in our ancient homeland. We built a powerful and vibrant democracy, a democracy that pushes the boundaries of innovation for the betterment of all humanity. I'm hopeful about America because I'm hopeful about Americans. I know how much the people of this country have sacrificed to defend freedom. America will continue to be a force for light and good in a dark and dangerous world. For free peoples everywhere, America remains the beacon of liberty its extraordinary founders envisioned back in 1776. Working together, I'm confident that our two nations will vanquish the tyrants and terrorists who threaten us both. As Israel's Prime Minister, I promise you this: no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will not relent, Israel will not bend. We will defend our land, we will defend our people, we will fight until we achieve victory. Victory over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny, victory of life over death, victory of good over evil. That's our solemn commitment.
And to be clear, in this scenario, you believe that the good guys are the ones slaughtering tens of thousands of children. That labels you as being on the good side?
And we will continue to work with the United States and our Arab partners to transform a troubled region from a backwater of repression, poverty, and war into a thriving oasis of dignity, prosperity, and peace. In this noble mission, as in many others, Israel will always remain America's indispensable ally. Through thick and thin, in good times and in bad, Israel will always be your loyal friend and your steadfast partner. On behalf of the people of Israel, I came here today to say thank you, America. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Thank you for standing in Israel, with Israel, in our hour of need. Together we shall defend our common civilization. Together we shall secure a brilliant future for both our nations. May God bless Israel, may God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
All right. I have to run, guys, but I want to just finish this by saying we covered a Times of Israel report, several months ago about an internal assessment that Netanyahu ordered. And that was essentially how Israel can diplomatically engage in an ethnic cleansing. How exactly can they get the nations of the world to accept refugees from Gaza? And the proposed plan was simply this: kill them. Kill enough of them until the nations of the world are able to accept, 10,000 here, a few thousand there. Basically crush them into bite-sized pieces of diaspora for the Western world to absorb. I can't find the article off the top of my head. I'll have to do some more digging off stream. But this is the kind of evil that we're dealing with here. So Netanyahu is disgusting, and we are absolutely aiding and abetting him at this point in time. They think they're going to get away with it. They are getting away with it. And seeing this just makes me, as the moments go by, more grateful that Kamala Harris appears to be positioning herself to have vastly different foreign policy, at least as far as this situation is concerned. I'm glad she did not preside over this. I'm glad she did not sit in on this. I'm glad that she apparently forcefully called for Netanyahu to come to terms of a ceasefire and laid the groundwork for playing a bit more hardball with this absolute ghoul whose only goal is to become a dictator, to put himself above and beyond the reach of the law, and to rebuild an ethno-state of blood and soil. And I think that it is only right and just to oppose such a project. So, with that being said, folks, please hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and consider dropping those subs and donos. I need the skadoodle very quickly here, so we are going to raid into Kevin Logan. Ada, okay, 13, thank you for subscribing.
Really enjoy your content on YouTube. Hoping to upgrade to a higher tier in the future. Anyone forced to sit through that deserves compensation.
Thanks, Ada. I hope that I made it a bit more palatable, because it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. All right, folks, we'll host Kevin Logan's stream over on riverboat.gg. That's for you guys over on YouTube, and we'll raid into him on Twitch here. So, see you all later. Bye.